أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله بارئ الخلائق الأجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما ولي الله الحجة ابن الحسن صاحب الأمر والزمان اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم من مات ولم يعرف إمام زمانه مات ميتة جاهلية صدق النبي وآمنا به نوروا مجالسكم بذكر محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Hadith Sharif by the final messenger of Islam, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, where he states, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. This is a hadith which is narrated by ulama of the Amma as well as the Khassa, from the school of Ahlul Bayt and those from outside the school of Ahlul Bayt. Hadith that has reached the highest level of tawatur. Man mata wa lam ya'rif imama zamanihi mata mitatan jahiliyah. The one who dies without having ma'rifah of his imam dies the death of Jahiliyyah. You find this is a hadith which is agreed upon by scholars of all schools of thought, regardless of their sect. And from here we are able to understand the centrality and the importance of the aspect of imamah. See, to read through the hadith of Rasulullah is one thing. To memorize the hadith of Rasulullah is one thing, but to understand the hadith of Rasulullah and understand the implications of what Rasulullah is saying is another thing altogether. Fiqhul hadith, contemplating over and understanding the meaning of what Rasulullah has said. What did Rasulullah mean when he said, Man mata wa lam ya'rif imama zamanihi mata mitatan jahiliya? The one who dies without having ma'rifah or recognition of the imam zaman of his time dies a death of jahiliya. Yani a person could say this hadith means what? A person could say La ilaha illallah, but he still dies a death of jahiliya. Person could say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah and he still dies a death of jahiliyyah. Ajib. For we understand that in addition to your tawheed and in addition to nabuwah, there is an institution known as the institution of imamah. And so long as you do not recognize the imam of your time, then that tawheed, that belief in tawheed and that belief in nabuwah is a belief that is naqis, rather can take you astray. From here we understand the centrality of this imamah. In every day and age there is a ma'soom imam. And in our day and age, we are under the leadership of Maulana Sahib al-Amri wal-Zaman, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And we said yesterday that Laylatul Qadr is associated with the Imam of our time. And therefore it is befitting on this day of Qadr, the 23rd day, that we speak a little bit in regards to the heritage and the legacy that has been left behind by the 12th Imam, and try to counter some of these shukuk, these shak and the waswasa, these doubts that are strategically placed within the legacy and the heritage that we have in front of us. This asr of the ghaiba of the 12th Imam is an asr of fitna and an asr of shukuk, where people come and plant doubts within the minds of the believers in the mu'mineen in the regards to their faith system and in regards to the legacy and the heritage that we have as per our hadith and seerah and whatnot. For it is important, so long as you know that for you not to die a death of jahiliyyah, you have to have ma'rifah of the Imam Zaman of your time. You have to be absolutely connected to the Imam Zaman of your time. And it is important for us to ask, what relationship do we have with Imam al-Hujjah? What is our relationship with the Imam of our time? During the ghaibah of the Imam on a daily basis, do I feel a sense of responsibility towards this Imam or no? Do I feel a sense of accountability towards my Imam on a daily basis or no? Do I speak with the Imam on a daily basis or no? If I speak to the Imam, what sort of conversations do I have? Adab and akhlaq of speaking with Imam al-Hujjah. If I have accepted Imam al-Hujjah is my Imam, have I given bay'ah to the Imam or no? In every age and in every zaman, part of your ma'rifah, if you have ma'rifah of the Imam, if you recognize and know the Imam, then you fall in love with him. When you fall in love with him, or as soon as you know him and you fall in love with him, you must pay your allegiance to him. And from here you find the importance of Dua al Ahad, where the Imam says a person who recites this dua minimum of 40 days will be from amongst the Ansar and the Ashab of the Imam. And in fact, what is understood from 40, that a person every day of his life, Salatul Fajr is completed, you recite Dua al Ahad. Dua al Ahad, the dua where you pledge allegiance to Maulana Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman. Every day you wake up, you say to him, Ya Imam, and on this day I renew my pledge of allegiance towards you. A person who grows up in this environment with this mentality has a sense of direction in his life, both materialistically and spiritually. Inta Janabak, you are from the Ansar and the Ashab of the Imam, waiting for the day of the Dhuhur. It is on the 23rd of Shahr Ramadan that one of the greatest alamat of the Dhuhur of Imam al-Hujjah occurs. And this is the alamat of the Sayha. 23rd of Shahr Ramadan, you have completed your a'mals of Laylatul Qadr. At the time of Salatul Fajr, Jibreel cries from the skies, Sayha. This is a weeping and wailing of Jibreel, a cry of Jibreel within the sky that is heard by everyone in the east of the world and the west of the world. And there's a lot of tafsil, detail on what this cry is and how it will be heard. But you can imagine in this day and age, if the dhuhur happens in your lifetime, that you have this phenomenal cry from the sky that has rocked the foundation of everything on earth, cried out in Arabic, heard from the lowest part of the continents of Africa to the furthest parts of Australia and North America and Europe. Simultaneously this cry is heard. And suddenly you see all these media outlets and these channels start to begin talking about this cry in the sky and the speculation. Are we ready for this? To welcome the 12th Imam, to be a part of the 12th Imam. For you find that your relationship with the 12th Imam is absolutely important, and a starting point of the relationship with Imam al-Hujjah is Dua al-Ahad. Because on every morning after Salatul Fajr, you give your bay'ah to the 12th Imam. You say, Ya Imam, on this morning, on this day, I'm pledging for you my allegiance and the covenant with you. Allahumma inni ujaddidu fi sabihati hadha yawm, or fi sabihati yawmi hadha ahdan wa akdan wa bay'atan fi unuki. Say to the 12th Imam, on this day and every day of my life, I pledge for you an allegiance. La azulu anha abada. I abide by this allegiance and I shall never waver. In the Janabak Shia, have a Imam, Dhuhr, you're waiting for his. For you find that if you have given bay'ah to the Imam and your allegiance to the Imam is necessary, in order for you to not die a death of Jahiliyyah, you have a responsibility towards the Imam Zaman of your time. And your responsibility towards the Imam of your time is that you are in full obedience towards him from the time you wake up to the time you sleep. Obedience towards the Imam in terms of performing your wajibat and staying away from those that are from the haramat. And in addition to this, your responsibility, tab'an, if you take the Imam to be a master and the divinely appointed ruler by Allah, you do not wage war against the Imam Zaman of your time. Ajib. How do you wage war against the Imam Zaman of your time? Those who waged war against Ahlul Bayt were not restricted to those who fought against Amir al-Mu'mineen with the sword in Siffin and Naharwan, for example, and Jamal. The enemies of Ahlul Bayt are not restricted to those who lifted or raised swords and spears against Imam al-Hussein in Karbala. La, this is one form of waging war. This is waging war militarily. But you have those who wage war against Ahlul Bayt through their tongues. They wage war against Ahlul Bayt and particularly against Imam al-Hujjah in this day and age, by refuting and condemning and belying the hadith and the dua left behind by Ahlul Bayt. This is a form of war against Ahlul Bayt. Read inside the ziyarat for Imam al-Hussein or for Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. You send the la'nah on a group of people. وَلَعْنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ حَارَبَكُمْ بِأَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. Madhmun al-Hadith, to paraphrase. La'na on those people who waged war against you with their tongues. To oppose the leadership of Imam al-Hujjah is to wage war against Imam al-Hujjah. How do you understand and how do you conform to his leadership in his ghaibah? By submitting to the words conveyed by him by way of hadith. Waging war against the hadith, yani how? Hadith that may be authentic, that have, or there's a possibility that they have emanated from a ma'soom Imam. I come up and I say that this hadith is not authentic. Imam al-Hujjah is saying something, Imam al-Baqir is saying something, and I negate what this Imam is saying. This is what? Waging war. This is why, Janabak, how you deal with the hadith of Ahlul Bayt, how you deal with the ziyarat of Ahlul Bayt, how you deal with the ad'iyah, the du'as that are revealed by Ahlul Bayt has to do with Iman. And tonight the hadith or the dua that we want to touch upon is known as Dua al Faraj. As you know, there are a number of ad'iyahs, there are a number of du'as that are termed as Dua al Faraj, but there is one particular dua of the 12th Imam, which is narrated by the 12th Imam. Inshallah, we shall read it for barakah, and you will find that with ma'al asaf shadid, great regret, voices of jahala, voices of ignorance, those who claim to be scholars of Ahlul Bayt, who sit on the member of Ahlul Bayt and then begin to negate and begin to condemn du'as like Dua al Faraj. Wa ani hakikatan, I am, alhamdulillah, very happy And I'm pleased that a community like yourselves, you take pride in reciting Dua al Faraj, and in the nights of A'mal, Samahat al-Sheikh himself was reciting this Dua al Faraj. There are a number of du'as which are known as Dua al Faraj, which we shall analyze today. And one of them, inshallah, we shall read them for barakah to begin with. This is the dua that starts, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ilahi azum al-bala, wa bariha al-khafa, wa nkashafa al-ghita, wa nqata'a al-raja, wa dhaqat al-ardh, wa muni'at al-sama, wa anta al-musta'an, wa ilayka al-mushtaka, wa alayka al-mu'awwalu fi shiddati wal-rakha. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أولي الأمر الذين فرضت علينا طاعتهم وعرفتنا بذلك منزلتهم ففرج عنا بحقهم فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر أو هو أقرب يا محمد يا علي يا علي يا محمد اكفياني فإنكما وانصراني فإنكما Nasiran. And then we take the name of our 12th Imam, Ya Maulana, Ya Sahib al-Zaman, Al-Ghawth, 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 Adrikni, 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 As-Sa'ah, 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 Al-Ajal, 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 Ya Arham al-Rahimin, Bihaqi Muhammadin wa alihi tahirin. This dua known as Dua al Faraj. You find that number of people have condemned this dua from 2 points of view. They discourage the recitation of this dua in the centers of Ahlul Bayt. You find a number of centers within the world, perhaps, that have reluctance in reciting this Dua al Faraj due to the waswasa of the juhala that have been put inside. And the first of these objections is that the sanad, the chain of narrators, is weak or is not established, and hence the dua is not credible. This is one. And number two, they say that elements of this dua lead towards shirk, and therefore this dua is not authentic. Ya Baba, what leads towards shirk? They say this part of the dua, Ya Aliyu, Ya Muhammadu, Ya Aliyu, Ya Aliyu, Ya Muhammad, ikfiyani fa innakuma kafiyan. Ya Muhammad, Ya Ali, Ya Aliyu, Ya Muhammad. Taking the name of the Nabi and the Wasi. They say, ikfiyani fa innakuma kafiyan. How can you say this? Allah and the Rasul, ikfiyani. Ikfiyani, yani, you are sufficient for us. Be sufficient for us. Ikfiyani, be sufficient for us. Fa innakuma kafiyan. For indeed, both of you are sufficient for me. So they come and they say, La, this is shirk. Shunu, Imam Ali and Rasulullah is enough for you. Allah is the one who is kafi. Your wasila should be through Rasulullah to Allah. You cannot say that Rasul and Amirul Mu'mineen are kafi for you. This is shirk. How do we reply back academically, but yet simply to misconceptions and waswasa like these? Number one, starting with the issue of the sanad. Sanad, yani chain of narrators. Chain of narrators, how this dua or how this ziyarah has reached you from a ma'soom. So within the sanad, for example, chain of narrators, you could have narrated by Imam al-Sadiq. So Imam al-Sadiq narrates. And this narration of Imam al-Sadiq was narrated by, for example, by Ali, who narrated from Hassan, who narrated from Muhammad, who narrated from own, for example. So you have these people, the chain of narrators, the person who heard from the Imam, and then the person who he conveyed it to, and so on and so forth, until this chain ends towards the Imam. Sometimes within this chain of narrators, you could have the person narrating from the Imam, perhaps he's somebody's Shia. Sometimes you have yani follower of Ahlul Bayt. Sometimes you find he's not a follower of Ahlul Bayt. Sometimes he's a follower of Ahlul Bayt, but he's credible. Sometimes he's not credible. And then based on these categorizations, either the hadith is sahih, or is hasan, or is muwathaq. And sometimes you have a chain of narrators where the categorization of the hadith is that it is da'if. Da'if, yani the hadith is weak, meaning what? Da'if. There are a number of categories of hadith that can be da'if, that can be weak. Sometimes the chain of narrators is discontinuous. You find that there is a gap within this chain of narrators. And on the other hand, sometimes you find that the hadith is da'if, that there is no gap within the chain of narrators, but you find that one of the people narrating the hadith is majhul. Majhul, yani he is unknown. You don't know in regards to his character, you don't know in regards to his veracity, you don't know in regards to his authentication. He's a person who is majhul. There's a question mark in regards to his character. For you find that Ahibba'i take this as a rule of thumb, which is established within the Hawza Ilmiya and the ulama who have studied Ilmul Hadith and Usulul Hadith. Ya ikhwani, when it comes to authenticating hadith in regards to mustahabbat, when it comes to authenticating hadith in regards to those things that are makruh within mustahabbat and makruhat, when it comes to establishing the authenticity of du'as and of ziyarat, the chain of narrators does not play a primary role in the authentication of that du'a or that hadith. The chain of narrators plays a primary role when you are dealing with those hadith that have to deal with wajibat and muharramat. However, when you are looking to establish acts which are sunnah from the mustahabbat or the makruhat, you find that there is a qaida known as the qaida tasamuh fi adillati sunan, leniency in establishing acts which are sunnah, qaida which is known within the Hawza Ilmiya. This is in regards to hadith that are da'if. Furthermore, ya akhi, you can have a hadith which is da'if, but which is also hujjah. Unfortunately, we have this misconception which is propagated against by people who are ignorant in usulul hadith, where they straight away think a hadith which is da'if is a hadith which is unauthentic. Who said? Who said that the translation of hadith da'if is unauthentic or fabricated? Hadith which is fabricated is known as hadith which is mawdu', not hadith which is da'if. Hadith which is da'if by definition means a tradition or a hadith on its own which cannot be a hujjah, but needs indications or help of secondary establishment by other hadith around it, such that the content in itself can be accepted. Because this is a mughalata, that hadith da'if is a hadith mawdu', fabricated. This is something very simple for the students who have studied the lowest or the most basic level of usulul hadith, be it within Rijal or Diraya. For when it comes to ziyarat, the chain of narrators does not play an important role, does not play a primary role. Furthermore, you can have a hadith which is da'if, but so long as ulama across the years have been acting upon a hadith which is da'if, that hadith da'if becomes a hujjah on the basis that the ulama have been doing amal upon it. Which is why in the books of usulul fiqh you will find al-hadith al-da'if al-munjabir bi-amal al-fuqaha hujjah. Da'if, hadith might be da'if. Da'if in terms on paper, in terms of its conveyance. But so long as the ulama generation from generation do amal upon this hadith, then even if it is da'if, it has no i'tibar. This hadith is considered to be legitimate. But you don't look at the sanad, so long as this amal is being formed or has been performed by the maraja and by the ulama over time. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. When you come into Dua al Faraj, Ilahi Adum al Bala, you will find that this is a dua which is narrated by ulama of the highest character and of the highest grade. This is a dua which is narrated in Mazarul Kabir, Kitab Mazarul Kabir by Sheikh Mohammad ibn Muhammad ibn Mashhadi, sorry. And then it is narrated by Shahidul Awwal, Muhammad ibn Makki, in his book Mazarul Shahid. It is narrated by Alama al-Majlisi. And then it is narrated by Sheikh al-Kaf'ami in Biladul Amin. And Sheikh Abbas al-Kummi in Mafatihul Jinan narrates this dua, Dua al Faraj, by taking it from Sheikh al-Kaf'ami in his book Biladul Amin or Baladul Amin. Who is Sheikh al-Kaf'ami? This dua has come from an alim known as, or is recorded by an alim known as Sheikh al-Kaf'ami. Sheikh al-Kaf'ami is praised by Sheikh Hurrul Amuli, author of Wasailu Shia. Enta Janabak, you cannot become a Marjat Taqleed if you are not familiar with Wasailu Shia. Hurrul Amuli describes Sheikh al-Kaf'ami by being an alim who is thika, jaleel, adib, shahir, wara'. He praises him that he is a sheikh, a scholar of the highest level of credibility and honor and taqwa. So now this person who brings shak in your mind and says, don't recite Ilahi Yadum al-Bala, it is fabricated or it is not authentic. Sheikh al-Kaf'ami and Sheikh Ibn Mashhadi and Alama al-Majlisi and the thousands of ulama before you didn't know this? And Janabak, some wahi came on you where you found that this is not credible, and the seerah of the ulama for the last 500-600 years has suddenly no i'tibar? Ya akhi, statements like these are a disaster in the world of Islamic academia. Karitha! In any case, the sanad is one. Sanad, the issue we can talk about it is one. But in addition to the sanad, there is the madhmoon, the actual content of Dua al Faraj. You find that every line of Dua al Faraj is in accordance with the Quran. And so long as the content of a dua or the content of a ziyarah is in accordance with the Quran, then the sanad has absolutely no i'tibar. Sanad is not taken into consideration. How? See, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ilahi adhum al-bala wa bariha al-khafa wa nkashafa al-ghita wa nkata al-raja wa dhaqat al-ard wa muniyat al-sama. You are speaking to who? A clue is in the first word. Ilahi, ahsant. Munajat between you and Allah. So you are talking to Allah. Ya Allah! Adhum al-bala, these balas and trials and tribulations around me are so great. By the way, between brackets, this dua was narrated by a person by the name of Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Abi Layth. He was in trouble. He fell into a dispute with the governor of Baghdad, and therefore he had to run away. He went into hiding. He went into the haram of Imam al-Kadhim, and he was doing dua and wasila of Imam al-Kadhim, you help me. In the haram of Imam al-Kadhim, Imam Sahibul Amri wa Zaman came and told him to recite this dua. He recited this dua and he got safety. So therefore this dua is narrated from Imam al-Hujjah directly. But anyway, so you're talking in this dua, you're talking to who? You're talking to Allah. The clue is in the first word, the Ilahi. Ya Allah, munajat, these balas and trials and tribulations around me are too many. وَبَرِحَ الْخَفَى وَانْكَشَفَ الْغِطَى وَانْقَطَعَ الرَّجَى وَضَاقَتِ الْأَرْضِ. This earth has become constrained upon me. Everywhere I look, there are enemies and people of hasad. I have nowhere to go. وَمُنِيَتِ السَّمَاءِ وَأَنْتَ الْمُسْتَعَانِ. So far, is there any problem with the dua? La. Tawheed. Ghayatul Tawheed. You are speaking to Allah in form of munajat. And then you say, وَأَنْتَ الْمُسْتَعَانِ. You are the one who I depend upon. Musta'an. You have a similar word to musta'an, a derivative of this in Surah Al-Hamd. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ. You say, Ya Allah, you are my own support. I rely on no one but you. So this part of the dua is the same as the Quran. Anta al-musta'an in Surah Al-Hamd, you say, wa iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. This is the first point. Similarity of this with the Quran. Wa ilayka al-mushtaka, and to you only do I complain. Wa alayka al-mu'awwali fi shiddati wal-rakha. Ya Allah, you are my point of return in terms of difficulty and in terms of ease. So till now we have established Tawheed of Allah. 100%. Everything is in the hands of Allah. Malik al-Mulk, creator of everything within existence. And then we recite Allah salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This salawat even is commanded to us within the Quran. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So far, has there been any idea of shirk? La. Tawheed, you're speaking with Allah. And you see that now the lines of dua are in accordance with the teachings of the Quran. And then on top of that, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad ulil amri alladhina faradta alayna ta'atahum. Ya Allah, send your salawat on Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Who are they? Those ones who are your ulil amr. Those are those leaders whom you have selected and made their obedience wajib. Ulil amr alladhina faradta alayna ta'atahum. Again, this is in accordance with the verse of the Quran. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul wa ulil amri minkum. You see now, subhanallah, Imam al-Hujjah, the Imam speaks in the same way as the Quran. There is no difference between the Quran and the words of Ahlul Bayt. Words of Ahlul Bayt are an explanation of the Quran. وَعَرَّفْتَنَا بِذَلِكَ مَنْزِلَتَهُمْ فَفَرِّجْ عَنَّا بِحَقِّهِمْ فَرَجًا عَاجِلًا قَرِيبًا كَلَمْحِ الْبَصَرِ أَوْ هُوَ أَقْرَبُ. You're talking to Allah. فَفَرِّجْ, Ya Allah, talab min ad-dani ila al-ali, from the lower one to the higher one. Fafarrij. Ya Allah, save me from all these balas. Grant me salvation by their sake, the sake of Ahlul Bayt. Make my troubles disappear like the blink of an eye. Kalamhil basar aw huwa akram. Now you come, Ya Muhammadu, Ya Aliyu, Ya Aliyu, Ya Muhammad, ikfiyani fa innakuma kafiyan, wansurani fa innakuma nasiran. Now, the countering this idea or countering the objection that this is shirk. Shirk means when you have taken a partner who is equal and equivalent to Allah. Over here in the dua, what did we do? Beginning of the dua, who did we refer to? Allah, Ilahi. After having accepted and after having submitted that everything is in the power of Allah, after having established Tawheed, now I go to Ahlul Bayt. Ikfiyani fa innakuma kafiyan. You are kafi in that Allah has made you a wasila which is sufficient. Know that you are the same as Allah. The Sahaba see Jahal, that they want to cut a part of the dua and say, no, this is shirk. This is the game of the Wahhabiyya and the Salafiyya, that they cut ayahs of the Quran and read them into half. Why do you cut the dua into half? Read the dua in its entirety. The entire Tawheed is established. After the Tawheed is established, you are saying, فَإِنَّكُمَا كَافِيَانِ, you are sufficient in that Allah has made you as a wasila sufficient for me. With you too, I don't need the shafa'ah and the wasila of anybody else outside of Ahlul Bayt. This is the meaning of Dua al Faraj. For we understand, Ya Akhi, the problem is not with the sanad. The problem is with this issue of wasila. And this is where the reality of the person who puts forward shukuk in du'as like these come out. Now, we want to prove wasila from the Quran. Our time is already finished. But wasila within the Quran, let me read for you 2 more verses and antum go and research. This wasila asking by Rasulullah and asking by the name of Amirul Mu'mineen, is this warranted within the Quran or no? Very quickly, Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse number 34. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullah wabtaghu ilayhil wasila. Who asked for the wasila? Those who have iman. Because the khitab is Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. In the janab, you have a problem with wasila, you have a problem in your iman. Shufu, this Quran. Ba'ad. Person comes forward and says to you, okay, we believe in wasila. We believe in the Rasulullah. But why should we ask Rasulullah directly? I will ask Allah. I will ask Allah directly and I will say, Ya Allah, you help me through Rasulullah. Why should I say, Rasulullah, you help me? So all that is there. We say even this is from the Quran. Ajib. Shlon. Within the Quran. Surah An-Nisa. Verse number. Surah An-Nisa. Verse number 64. You can recite Allah salawat please. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. If we are a few minutes over the time, inshallah, is okay? Inshallah. See, so the idea is what? Person says, I will do wasila. I will do wasila of Rasulullah. But I will not go to Rasulullah directly. I go to Allah and I say, Ya Allah, through Rasulullah, you help me. And now we're saying, you can go to Rasulullah directly because this is what Allah has commanded. Where is the proof? Proof is within the Quran. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is Surah An-Nisa, verse number 64. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا يُطَاعَ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. Allah is saying, we did not send any prophet except that he is to be obeyed. Now listen here. بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. He is obeyed بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ, by the permission of Allah. Allah is the one who has given him authority. Now listen to this. وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ إِذْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ جَاءُوكَ فَاسْتَغْفَرُوا اللَّهَ وَاسْتَغْفَرَ لَهُمُ الرَّسُولُ لَوَجَدُوا اللَّهَ تَوَّابًا رَحِيمًا. Allah is saying to Rasulullah, وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ إِذْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ. ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ. If they sinned upon themselves. ظَلَمْتُ نَفْسِي, we say in Dua Kumail. If anyone from the Ummah has committed sins by doing dhulm upon themselves, any who have sinned, if anyone from the Ummah has committed sins, فَجَاءُوكَ, they came to you, Ya Rasulullah, فَاسْتَغْفَرُوا اللَّهِ وَاسْتَغْفَرَ لَهُمُ الرَّسُولُ لَوَجَدُوا اللَّهُ تَوَّابًا رَحِيمًا. If the sinful people from the Ummah came to you, Ya Rasulullah, and they sought for istighfar, and then you, Rasulullah, did istighfar for them, you would find that Allah is the most merciful. Allah is saying in the Quran that when you want to do istighfar, go to Rasulullah. Allah could have said in the Quran, come and say, do istighfar to me. La, go to Rasul. This is the same thing in Dua al Faraj. Ikfiyani fa innakuma kafiyan. And the Amirul Mu'mineen, there is absolutely no shak. Nafsun Nabi from the Quran. And the hadith in this and the kalam in this is long. And inshallah, we suffice with this in establishing the authenticity of Dua al Faraj. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq and the inspiration to abide by the ziyarat and the adiyah of Ahlul Bayt. A small masaib of a minute or two to end this majlis. Masaib of Mawlana Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman. One of the scholars sees Imam al-Hujjah in his dream. He sees him in his dream. And he says, O Mawlana Sahib al-Amr, he sees the Imam is weeping. In Ziyarat al-Nahiyah, he reads a part where Imam al-Hujjah says that I shall weep tears of blood for the tragedies that occurred. فَلَأَبْكِيَنَّ عَلَيْكَ بَدَلَ الدُّمُوعِ دَمًا حَسْرَةً عَلَيْكَ. I shall lament you every morning and I shall weep for you tears of blood. One of the scholars sees Imam al-Hujjah in his dream. He asks him, Maulana Sahib al-Amr, for which tragedy do you cry tears of blood? Is it for the way in which Ali al-Asghar was martyred? Imam al-Hujjah said no. He said, is it the way in which is it the manner in which Imam al-Hussein was killed and his body was trampled upon by horses? Imam al-Hujjah said no. He asked him, is it the way in which the head of Imam al-Hussein was carried in a spear? Imam al-Hujjah said no. He said, yeah, Imam, for which tragedy do you cry tears of blood? 3 times Imam al-Hujjah cried out, Asham, Asham, Asham. Imam Sahib al-Amr cries for the manner in which the women were taken as prisoners in the bazaar of Sham. Their hands are tied with ropes, their legs are tied with ropes. The people of Kufa are laughing upon them and mocking them as they are made to enter in a way which is with humiliation. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the sake of Imam al-Hujjah to forgive us our sins, to make us from amongst the Ashab and the Ansar, Marhumin and Marhumat who have passed away. May Allah make their graves into a garden from the gardens of Jannah. Mu'mineen and Mu'minat who are not in the best of health, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them shafa'ah. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima.
توجه زيارة. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله.